Welcome to Words Do Things, a podcast about the powers and limits of language. I'm Dr. Sørina Higgins, and I'm interested in the ways words make things happen. Join me as my guests and I explore language that is helpful, harmful, magical, or masterful, and learn how to wield words beautifully yourself. Hark! The syllables I speak as the seconds slip by, and the concepts they convey have impact and import. You have heard these few words as they come from my tongue. You, dear listener, are hearing my words. That sentence was a speech act. By saying those words, I have done the thing. When I said you are hearing my words, I made it true that you are hearing my words. The sounds I'm creating with my voice are entering into your ears and causing change in your consciousness, however small or transient that may be. Words are actions. They connect me to you wherever and whenever you may be listening to this podcast. There is a whole field of study that examines how words work, how speaking and writing affect readers, listeners, conversation partners. Speech act theory is particularly interested in words that accomplish something by their very nature, like, I now pronounce you man and wife. I declare this bridge now open. I hereby renounce Satan and all his works. Let's go get 'em. These are words that do what they say. But any old words can do stuff, not just performatives, or to use the fancy term, illocutionary speech acts. This very day, somebody with power has wielded words to make others feel more or less human, has used speech to usher in peace, or has stirred up violence with terms of hate. And I want to talk about how that works. I'm fascinated and sometimes terrified by what we can do to other people simply by speaking or writing certain sounds or symbols. These days, words are wreaking havoc, especially on social media and in public settings. As I watch individuals and groups weaponize words to attack each other, both online and face-to-face, I worry about the actions that follow. You know the old rhyme, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. Our opening music is a cover of Ray Charles' Talk Don't Bother Me. But we all know that the saying isn't true. Words can do a great deal of harm. These are the ideas I want to explore in this podcast. Words are physical objects. Not exactly like sticks and stones, but material nonetheless. They are characters carved in stone, written on parchment or paper, or they are the movement of sound waves passing through your ear canal, making your eardrum vibrate. Then those vibrations get passed along to your little ossicle bones, thence to the teensy hairs on your cochlea, into your auditory nerve, and finally to your brain. That's a lot of physical stuff happening. Sounds that are too loud can cause physical harm to our eardrums, but even a softly spoken word can leave a wound that will never be healed in this life. Words like, I understand why your abuser treated you that way. You deserved it. Or words like, not everyone is equal. Some people deserve to live more than others do. Words can cause destruction and death. In the late 12th century, King Henry II, frustrated by Archbishop Thomas Becket's obstruction of his political and economic plans, reportedly lamented, "What miserable drones and traitors have I nurtured and promoted in my household, who let their lord be treated with such shameful contempt by a low-born cleric?" That's a mouthful. And in 1740, an author shortened it in his Chronicle of the Kings of England, making Henry say, "O wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from this turbulent priest?" It's even more memorably rendered in the 1964 movie Becket, when Peter O'Toole's Henry II bursts out, "Who will rid me of this meddlesome priest?" Whichever form of that sentiment Henry uttered, a few days later, 4 of his loyal knights burst into Canterbury Cathedral and murdered Thomas Becket as he served at the altar. Words led to death. As I record these words on October 3rd, 2025, there has been an upsurge of hateful public rhetoric in the United States, and even violent actions prompted by words of hatred. While it is difficult to trace cause and effect, and not always as clear as a king giving a command, there is an atmosphere brewing in which words of hatred are becoming rampant and deeds of violence more plausible. Coded public rhetoric and political rhetoric abound. There are terms that might sound innocuous, but everybody knows that if you double-click on them, as it were, you'll open a whole window through which you could scroll for a very long time, reading reams of partisan statements on a subject. I've been thinking a lot over the last couple of years about political rhetoric, interpersonal words, and the power of language in general. I'm concerned about the dehumanization inherent in a great deal of public diction these days. Furthermore, I'm baffled by the entirely different epistemological ecosystems people inhabit, thanks to Jamar Tisby for the phrase. Turns out Owen Barfield was concerned about the same thing 53 years ago. Barfield wrote that when people debate on a controversial subject, the minds of the disputants never really meet, and what invariably transpires is not so much a difference of opinion as a total failure of communication. He continues, communication has broken down when even common words are used by different speakers with contradictory or widely different meanings. For the sense we attach to common words appear self-evident to us, but such is the nature of language that each assumption about meanings is an instinct of a very special sort. It is one with a history behind it. I think it will be found that the meanings we attach to common words very often consist, in fact, of buried presuppositions. Presuppositions which are so inveterate as to have become subconscious. He goes on to say that there are really two different populations using the same words to mean totally incommensurate things, each assuming its definitions are correct and natural, each claiming to hold the moral high ground, each writing off the other as mentally or ethically deficient. That political linguistic reality Barfield observed in 1972 has, if anything, gotten more stark and startling today as we continue to talk past one another and hurl our words at one another like weapons. At the same time, writers, students, and others are turning more frequently to large language models, what we call generative AI, to create content for them, outsourcing the selection of words to an algorithm. If it is true, as someone once quipped, how can I know what I think until I see what I've said, then what happens when we no longer select our own words? For years, there was a hypothesis in linguistics that if we do not have a word for something, we cannot conceive of that reality, or conversely, that new words engender new thoughts. These claims may exaggerate the case, but I want to put forward another proposition that's relevant in the age of AI. There is no such thing as a synonym. Now, obviously, there are synonyms, there are dictionaries packed full of them, but no two words mean exactly the same thing. And even if they have the same dictionary denotation, they nearly always carry different connotations. They have different emotional resonances, cultural associations, and psychosocial implications. As they have traveled through history, being used by different people, they have been filled up with all kinds of shades and colors and notes and flavors. And these have as much impact as what you'll find in the dictionary. Our choice of words is incredibly important. Both our creation of statements and others' reception of them are shaped by our whole life experience, where we grew up, with whom, in what subculture, the Bible Belt, frozen New England, sunny California, whether we are boomers or zoomers. Our tastes, the cumulative sum total of all the books we've read, movies we've watched, music we've listened to, every person we know, every conversation we've ever had, all of this shapes the meaning of words to us and their impact upon us. No robot or algorithm can compete with that. Similarly, there are words that are like magic spells. They can cause radical, beautiful transformation. This is one reason why practitioners of ceremonial esotericism believe in the power of the spell, the well-chosen words spoken just so, causing real change. At least in the consciousness of the practitioner, possibly in the minds and moods of listeners or participants, and according to their theories, even on the astral plane or in the material world. Would it work if an embodied robot wrote and spoke an enchantment? Questions like these point to why it still matters that we learn to write as skillfully as we can and teach subsequent generations to do so too. Therefore, I want to offer long arcs of episodes on these themes about violent rhetoric, AI and writing, magic and poetry. The first series will consist of reruns of my previous podcast, 1619 and 1776, which aired in 2021 and 2022. That season specifically examined divisions among American Christians, and I interviewed priests and pastors about the topics most hotly debated at the time: COVID responses, Black Lives Matter, and more. Since then, several chapters of history have unfolded, and public rhetoric in the United States has not become more tranquil. Quite the contrary. Therefore, after those reruns, I will offer you a brand new series called Bad Words. In it, I will re-interview those same clergy members, asking what they think about the ways we talk to and about each other in the public sphere today. Then I'll invite new guests to continue that conversation. I hope to ask many important questions in this podcast, a long, slow exploration over several years as history unfolds, and the very question of what it means to be a writer, and even what it means to be human, comes under scrutiny. Thank you for listening to this episode of Words Do Things. I hope you come back next week for more ideas and discussion. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, like, share, and review. If you have suggestions, you can find me on social media. I'm Dr. Sørina Higgins on most platforms. Thanks to my project coordinator, Sophia Holcomb, to the anonymous musician who provided me with 2 arrangements of Talk Don't Bother Me by Ray Charles, to all my guests, and to each of you for joining the conversation. Whatever you say today, remember, words do things. What do you want them to do?